Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Good morning. Hopefully it does. I can hear myself very vividly in the background there. But it's a nice voice, so I can't read.
Okay, for all the listeners, we do not know how this episode is going to go because we're experiencing technical difficulties. I can't hear Josh. So right now we have the jankiest setup of all time where we have a mic set up next to my phone and I'm talking into a mic and Josh is muted on the computer. So his audio is coming out of my phone. So we'll see.
It's really makeshift.
But this is what starting a business is. We really do need to figure out the tech stuff, though. I don't know why it's not working.
No, it's weird because it didn't stop working last week when we were recording. It stopped after when we were jumping, if you remember. So yeah, I don't know what's changed. So it's on your end, not mine.
It's possible, but in the meantime, this is our only time to record, and we'll record. We'll see how this episode turns out. So hopefully we don't lose it, but you never know. We'll see. We've lost an episode before, but fingers crossed we never have to lose another episode. So let's just spin a wheel. How do you prioritize financial education and staying informed about financial trends?
Very topical. Everything that's just happened in the last 24 hours because of your president. I read the news every single day. I didn't used to because I used to be very involved with politics and it was my big passion back in the day. So I would read to keep on top of the economy and therefore in turn the stock market and stuff. It became so toxic, so I took a few years away from it. But I do every morning when I log on to work, I read the news, I check the stock market, to try and keep myself informed, but also reading books. Of course, financial education is everywhere if you want access to it. So the books, the news, that's my main ways of keeping informed and keeping on top of financial education, really.
You're more on top of it than me because I don't even know what happened.
Oh, really? Okay. So Trump imposed all of these tariffs on the whole world, pretty much. So every single country that imports into the US is going to be tariffed with 10% on top of a 10% tax, basically. And then there's certain countries like China where it's even more than that because Trump feels that countries like China have been taking advantage of the US in their trade. So I think China's is 54% or something obscene like that. And it's just going to completely change the world economy as we know it. Trump is trying to reclaim the US economy, trying to boost it. And in the short term, it's going to do more harm than good to the whole world economy. I think this could lead to a recession of some sort. But I think long term is probably a good thing for the US, definitely not for the rest of the world. But it's scary. It's a trade war at the moment. It's 2025's version of World War III in some ways. It feels really hostile with Trump, and it's a bit of a weird time. I used to be a fan of Trump, but I've completely, I think in this term, lost all respect for him and his policies, and I just don't know what he's doing. Well, I do know what he's doing, but it's all in the interest of one country, and he's trying to screw over the rest of the world in the name of the US.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show that I'm just so in my own life right now that I'm not looking at the news at all. I haven't been looking at the news just because I find that it can be pretty toxic if I'm looking at the news because you're never reading good news. And I know this is it sounds so, I don't know, uninformed and first world, whatever, ignorance is bliss. But the big things I do hear about, stuff like this, I'm sure I was going to hear about that today at some point. The big stuff you hear about. And the big stuff you hear about, the bigger the thing, the faster you hear about it. And that's been my approach. But as far as like financial education for me, I just read books and then listen to podcasts and seminars as well. That's just how I go about doing it. Because I used to be like, had this really weird relationship with money, especially like dealing with financial abuse growing up. Had this weird thing. And I was like, if I'm afraid of something, just lean into it. So I just started researching a ton about money and doing everything. And yeah, but no, I like don't look at the news at all. I just can't. It's just there's so much going on and it's just so detrimental to my mental health. It's like the only thing I can do to protect myself and knowing that if something is big enough, I will hear about it. And if I hear about something, I can go and do more research myself.
That's it. Yeah, 100%. I agree. And I think the news is so toxic. And that's why I took so long away from that whole sphere. And even now, I don't really follow it that closely. I just look at the main headlines for each day. But it is so toxic and it really does impact your mental health, especially in a world where everything is so polarizing right now. Everyone is either on one end of the spectrum or the other. There's very few people in the middle and everyone hates each other on either side of the spectrum. And it's just so toxic. Even in families, as I'm sure it's really, really toxic. My little sister is on the other end of the spectrum from a political and economic side of things to me. And we argue about it all the time. Like it causes massive friction to the point where I've banned it from our conversation. Last weekend was Mother's Day and she brought up some policy that the UK government's implementing that I disagree with and that she agrees with. And it just caused this big argument. I was like, can we just stop talking about this? Let's just enjoy our Sunday. There is no need for us to talk about this. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. So let's just be friends, brother and sister, like we're meant to be, and not talk about politics and let the economy and politics ruin our siblinghood.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've lost a lot of friendships over political beliefs, but not even mine, like my ex-boyfriends, because my ex-boyfriend and I disagreed politically, but we had that same, I respect your opinion, you respect my opinion. They just are different and that's okay because we're humans and like humans have different opinions. But a lot of my friends had issues with his political beliefs. So I was like, I really believe that we can disagree from one another, but still love each other. And it's okay. Like just if like we disagree about the best fruit, I'm going to say raspberries all the way. I don't even know what your favorite fruit is. You know what I mean? If I said my favorite fruit's raspberries and your favorite fruit's, I don't know, bananas, I'm going to be like, well, you're fucking dumb. Like, why? But that's okay.
You're like, and it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter unless, you know, your partner or your sibling is a literal like Nazi or putting their own life in danger, putting other people's lives in danger. You have no reason to get involved. With my sister, it's just like, all it does is bring negativity into our relationship and into our household. So what is the point in talking about these things? So I'm a big believer in that because it is so toxic and so polarizing. And so I really do just try to stay away from it. It is so hard in the modern world with technology where the news is everywhere, where social media covers the news as well. And luckily, I'm not really on social media anymore as of the last few weeks. And it makes a big difference. I'm not seeing these incredibly toxic comment sections, which they drag you down. Even if you're not involved, they drag you down.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to protect your own mental sanity and figure out your own boundaries around that, especially since it's such a polarizing time right now. Yeah.
So polarizing. The other thing I wanted to say, you said about your relationship with money. I have such a bad relationship with money historically over the years. It's why I gambled for so long. But my mum always said to me when I was growing up, even before the gambling days, I wasn't able to have money in my pocket. She said, the moment I got money, it was like there was a hole burned in my pocket because I would spend it. I would want to get rid of it. I would never have any kind of sense of saving or investing. It was literally just, I need to get rid of it. And I don't know where that came from, to be honest. Now I think it's the opposite. I'm actually incredibly tight with my money and I don't want to see it leave my account. And I just love seeing that number getting bigger and bigger in my investments, in my savings accounts. It's just a nice feeling. And that's also bad. That's also a bad relationship with money because it means that I don't spend. And I feel really guilty when I do spend. Like, for example, I'm trying to plan this trip. In between my two jobs at the end of May, I've got 2 weeks off and I want to plan this trip. And it's going to probably end up costing me about $1,000 US dollars, so about £800. And it's making me so anxious and it's giving me so much pain. And it's so exciting. Like, I have more than enough money to pay for this. Money is not an issue when it comes to this trip. And it's so exciting. It's going to be an amazing trip, regardless of what I decide to do and where I go. It's going to be so exciting. But just the thought of seeing my account at the moment, my main account, is like a nice round number after I just got paid a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Like, the moment I spend this money on these flights, that's going to drop to a nasty, horrible number. And it's below what I wanted and what my target was for the month. And it just causes me so much anxiety. So I have such a bad relationship with money.
Well, it's something we can work on too, for sure. And also, we have to discuss this trip because I know I didn't get back to you. Josh told me that he has 2 weeks. Those dates, I think, work perfectly for me. So I think we should do something.
Well, what are your moves around then?
My plan was because I have a wedding in Georgia at the end of May, and then I might have a wedding in Portugal in June, but big maybe there with my whole situationship. But I was planning on going to Europe for the summer and leaving right after the wedding in May. So if we want to do something around Europe, that's cool. Or even like Morocco or like somewhere around North Africa or like Iceland, we could go somewhere in the middle. Or if you want to do something around Europe, like around Europe or around like Northern Africa or Iceland, I think. Or if we want to do the US, that's an option too, like East Coast of US. But I think I'm around for those 2 weeks.
Okay, interesting. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
Because my plan, I've literally spent hours researching it because now that I have served my notice at work, I'm doing the bare minimum. I know my boss won't listen to this later, but I'm doing the bare minimum. So I have loads of spare time to kill in the afternoons. And so I spent hours planning what I can do over those 2 weeks. And I was looking into, a variety of things. I was actually interestingly looking at North Africa. What I had landed on most recently was Southeast Asia, but I think it's wet season around then, so that might not be the best idea. I've got so many options. It's only 2 weeks, but I can really make the most of it. And I really have to, and I want to.
Yeah. I plan on doing Asia in the fall, winter. So I don't think I'm going to go to Asia and then back and then Asia and back. But I do want to go on, if the two of us can make a trip happen, those dates, I think they work really, really well for me. So if we want to do like Northern Africa, even somewhere in Africa would be cool. Northern Africa or Iceland or somewhere in Europe like that. Or because I know you're there, so you might not want to do anything in Europe, but we'll talk. We'll talk and like plan a potential trip because those dates I think work out really well for me.
Yeah, definitely let's talk. But what I want to talk about right now is the last voice message you sent me was very emotional, very tearful. So let's get into that. How are you feeling now, first of all?
We have so much to talk about, not just with me, but with you too. You have huge life updates. Yeah, I sent Josh a voice message yesterday, like literally in tears, just being like, I'm going through a grief wave right now. I am still going through grief waves. I'm still really going through it. Going to Miami was really, and we've talked about this on the voice message, but going to Miami was really hard. And the last time we talked on the podcast, like I was back in my old neighborhood, seeing how it felt. It still felt good, still felt like home. But in the last weekend between that recording and this recording, I went back to my old building, saw all my old friends. I was put in a situation where one of my mutual friends with my ex low-key chose him over me, and that really, really upset me. And having this realization that not only did I blow up my relationship, I blew up my whole life. And even if I go back, it's not going to be the same. And the grief around that life I was so happy in ending, and the grief I feel around going back and seeing like that my life has continued on without me, and my ex is sitting there now enjoying the life that I built, and like it's just very, very painful. Like that grief is really, really painful. I did talk to my ex, and I'm not going to get into specifics about what we talked about, but it was a really healthy, respectful, healing conversation. Josh obviously knows the details, but that was really great. But I'm like dealing with a lot of grief there, and things in my situationship have also kind of like really, 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 really slowed down a lot. So I'm dealing with grief there too. And it's very painful. Like I'm feeling a lot of pain right now around grief of my life being over, or like that life that I had, like blowing it up. And it's just really sad. Like I'm allowing myself to feel this grief because it is grieving, especially literally going back to my life and seeing it and re-immersing myself in it and then leaving it again when I is was just really heartbreaking and very, very difficult. So yeah. And it's also just like having a realization, because I was talking to my therapist about this. I signed on to my therapy on Tuesday, and I'm like, I need a double this week because I'm like going through so much. And we were talking about friendships, and it's something that we've talked about before in one of our early episodes about how I'm typically in my friendships, I'm the one that gives more, I'm the one that makes the plans, I'm the one that reaches out, I'm the one that kind of makes things happen. And realizing with my friends in Miami, like maybe some of my friendships there are not as close as I thought they were, and that was really heartbreaking. And then he was like, you should be nurturing the friendships that nurture you and not nurturing the friendships that like aren't giving anything to you. He's your Tony Robbins friends. Like when you were in solitude, like you had hundreds of messages. Like you should be nurturing those relationships, not necessarily the people who don't reply or don't respond or whatever. And yeah, it was, I don't know. I'm really going through the grief wave right now, and it's tough.
Of course, and so it's gonna come and go as we knew from the first moment. But I think the sounds hit you so hard this time around was the fact that you weren't maybe expecting to be in a position where you need to grieve those friendships as well. Now, the first thing I wanted to ask you, because I mentioned this when we briefly spoke the other day about those friendships, is from my perspective, it sounds like in that circumstance, or in that situation, it didn't sound to me exactly like your friend chose your ex over you. I didn't know what your opinion was on that. I think I completely understand the hurt that it would make you feel, of course, is incredibly hurtful. And then seeing your friends who you built that life with still going on with their lives and having fun without you is hard. And as I said the other day, that's part and parcel of the breakup. And it's surprising that it's taken you so long to get to that point where you've realized, I guess it makes sense because you've been away from Miami and then you've gone back to Miami and you've seen that whole sort of life go on without you, which you didn't see before. So that's why it's taken so long, but it's incredibly hurtful. And it is unfortunately a part of grieving a relationship. You do lose friends and you do lose kind of people who you thought were your friend. And that doesn't sound like they're necessarily picking sides, but it's like their life is going on and that hurts to see that. And it is part of the process of grieving and part of the process that you need to work through. And I guess you realized that over the last week, and that's why it hit so hard. How are you feeling about it now?
I'm still grieving. I still feel sad. I still feel pretty sad over that. And I'm like trying to just give myself grace and patience. And with these really intense waves of sadness come, and just allowing them to, if I need to sob into my work, that's what I did yesterday when I sent you a message. It was like just crying for hours while I'm working, just allowing the grief to pass through. It's almost like grieving the death of a loved one. Like you're grieving. I'm grieving the end of my life. I'm grieving the end of some friendships, and it's just sad. Like it just comes in waves. It just comes in waves, this grief, and that's okay. Like it's okay, and I'm just trying to be present with it. And you're right, it is. And like your perspective on it was helpful. Like it is a part of breakups, is like you're gonna lose friends. I didn't just lose friends. I literally left an entire city, and I spent 2 years building roots, and I severed a lot of those roots when I left. And my therapist said today, it's interesting. When you're in school as a kid, like you make your friends through school or like a job or work, or maybe it's possible that a lot of the relationships you built were situational in the building that you lived in. And it's interesting now you went back and you got to see, like you went back for 10 days. Who actually made time for you? Who actually showed up? And it's, listen, because I'm going back for my birthday, right? So I'm inviting people to my birthday, and he's like, don't invite everybody. He's just invite the people who made time for you and the people who prioritize seeing you when you were there. The other people are not your friends. Like, they were situational relationships. They were not your friends. People who showed up and picked you up from the airport or let you stay with them or made sure to see you while you were there, like, those are your friends. And it's something we talked about in one of the first couple episodes, is redefining the circles and redefining all of that. But it is grieving, and I do feel really sad around it. And it's something I'm just allowing myself to process through. And it's my situationship also is really slowed down too. Like, we're not really talking that much, and like grieving that too. I think he's also just realized that it's like good to lean into being single, and he's just limited communication on his side and effort on his side. And that's fair. That's totally fair to lean into being single because we're not in a relationship, right? So, but it's still sad for me, especially like I'm going through a lot of grief. I realized that my feelings were very strong, and it does make me feel sad. So it's like just dealing with it's like both realities exist at the same time, where I'm grieving like things changing and things whatever, but at the same time, like really leaning into nurturing the relationships that nurture me as well. Like making sure I'm FaceTiming people that have been lifelong friends that I know are always there, and we're like really prioritizing that right now. But yeah, things are pretty, like, mental health wise, things are tough, but I think I'm just like going through grief right now, just and allowing myself to go through it, because it's like I can't swallow this stuff. I'm literally grieving the end of a lot. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, definitely. I think with the Dr. Leprechaun channel, it was getting into petty territory, as we discussed before, and that's never healthy. And I think when you start to get to that phase in a relationship, it becomes quite natural from that point to start to peter out, if that makes sense, where a relationship is actually in many ways doing more harm than good, or it's doing plenty of harm to both of your emotions and your mental state, which it did sound like it was getting to that point, because you were both doing and saying certain things that just weren't benefiting the other. And I think naturally, as a result, maybe even you subconsciously and him have started to pull away, because you don't want to be feeling that negative emotion. And it's not necessarily a conscious thing. So I think that's the first thing to know. And it's hard, because you did really have feelings for him, and I'm sure still do. But everything happens for a reason. And it's such a cop-out advice to give, that everything happens for a reason, because you can say it for everything. My mom died, well, everything happens for a reason, right? But I do firmly believe in it. And it really has helped me get through so many situations, so many relationships, everything in my life, that has happened for a reason. And what happened with Dr. Leprechaun, we're so close to saying his name every time. What happened with him is there's so many lessons to be learned from it, and I'm sure it will resurface in the future.
I mean, I'm going to see him in 2 weeks, so.
Well, exactly. So in the future, 2 weeks, even more so, more intensely, and who knows where it might go. And you've just got to go with the flow of the universe, of where life is taking you, and you've just got to trust in that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing with your friends and grieving that, you're absolutely right. And that you do really need to start focusing on the circles again, because these people who you got let down by while you're in Miami, they're friends, but they're very much outer circle friends. And I'm hoping that you've really started to realize that now after this trip.
Yeah.
And something that I've been told throughout my whole life, because I always had this kind of attitude, really, was it's much better to have a handful, 2, 3, even one really, really good friend, like best friends, than 50 distant friends, right? And it sounds like these friends that you were let down by in Miami, they are the distant friends. They're that outer circle that you can hang out with them, you can party with them, but really they're not inner circle. And it's the inner circle that you really need to be focusing on, because they're your people. They're the people that will love and support you through thick and thin. So you need to nurture those relationships. And it sounds like you've acknowledged that, which is good, but it's really important that you keep that going. And I think that will help you cope with the grief of losing those sort of extended friends as well.
Yeah, yeah. It is and I think the thing that's hardest about this grief is that it's these people. Some of them I'm like, okay, I can let go because like I knew they were outer circle and I'm like now they're like just further out. But it's the people that I thought were much closer, like a much closer inner circle that I'm realizing are not. And like grieving that is very difficult. But I'm just like again allowing myself to go through the grief of, and this is the universe like really like I'm sure we talked about this, like my growth happens with pain. That's kind of what happens is like literally that's why you seek discomfort is because that's where growth happens, right? And like I'm growing from this pain. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning so many lessons. Like just in the last 3 months, like the amount that I've learned has been crazy. And it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to just be sad about things not turning out the way you thought they were going to, or like having to literally blow up your whole life. And yeah, I think I grieved it a lot when I left. And it's funny because the episode that just came out yesterday was about me leaving Miami. And we literally talked about the same thing. I listened to it yesterday. And I grieved it a lot then. But since starting to travel, I have not been grieving because I've been so wrapped up in my travels and wrapped up in being present. But after going back and then leaving again, it's like this grief is really coming up a lot. And it's just
I
like,
think that's also,
yeah,
I think that's also part of the danger of the traveling and having such an action-packed life where you're doing stuff the whole time. You cover up those emotions and you cover up the grief because you're keeping yourself busy. And it's fair enough. It's a good thing to do, especially after such a major life shift. I'm glad you're doing it and it will force growth and it is already forcing growth. But it does also, you have to allow yourself time to reflect and actually grow through the pain and the grief, because if you're constantly busy and occupied and your mind is occupied on travel and this and that, then you're not going to have the space to do that. And then it's just going to resurface in the future, which is what's just happened.
yeah. And I'm glad because I'm in Brazil right now. And I have 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks in Brazil, which is the longest I'm going to be anywhere. And it's a much slower, I'm taking this leg at a slower pace. Like I'm working a ton and then just taking a couple hours every day to go and do sightseeing and then coming back and working because solo travel, like I don't go out at night. So just like taking that at a very slow pace and allowing myself, I really haven't allowed myself beyond therapy. I haven't really given myself a ton of time for reflection just because I've been so busy with work, and we should get into that too. But yeah, it's just like giving myself the time and the space to like really process through everything. I'm glad it's like a little bit slower of a leg to allow myself the time and space to just let it go, basically, and just fully feel it. Just like feel how sad this is because it is sad and it is like a lot.
Of course. Yeah. How long are you in Brazil?
Little over 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then back to the US?
Yeah, back to the US. I'm going to Coachella, so I'll see Dr. Leprechaun there, and then I'm going to be in LA for 10 days, back to Miami. After that, I don't know. A lot of the plans are dependent on Dr. Leprechaun. So I think for me, I need to like plan A and plan B for if things are working with him, if things are not working with him. And I don't know. I like have a feeling it's going to lean one way, but I don't know for sure. And that's also really difficult too. And like the uncertainty of that is getting to me. But yeah, so I don't know. Just like dealing with the pain. Like I just feel sad and I just feel grief, and I think that's going to be normal.
It's natural. And as I've said before, I was surprised that there was a lot of sadness and a lot of grief in the early days. And that kind of went away for a while, largely every time we seemed to catch up. But it is because you were so busy. You're in Australia, you're in New Zealand, you've been doing shit. Now suddenly it feels like life has maybe slowed down a little bit. And after what happens in Miami last week with these friends, you're suddenly is catching up with you.
Yeah.
And so it's natural to feel this way. And you need to allow yourself to feel this way and not just, if you start to feel sad, and I know you don't do this, but if you start to feel sad, don't just go out and do stuff to keep yourself busy and go travel to a new destination, because you need to allow yourself that space.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's very natural for what I'm going through. with the grief of the life and then the grief of things changing with Dr. Leprechaun and just like allowing myself to go through that. So it's a priority while I'm here to just allow myself to feel everything. And like I am going and doing stuff. And yes, I am drowning myself in work, but just like allowing myself to kind of like feel what I have to feel and being okay with that. To talk about something positive and negative on the other side. Because I know wheel of life, something's always going good, is like finances are going great. I got a surprise bonus last week and I got a raise yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. No promotion, but a raise. So, and like a baby raise, which again, better than nothing, like amazing. And I feel really good. I had my annual review yesterday. Majority of the comments were great, but there was one comment that like really stung with me, which is that I'm not being like proactive enough and handing off my work to like a higher up. Like basically like I should just work on doing more before I hand it off. And it stung with me because I take so much pride in my work and take so much pride in doing a lot. But I guess maybe I haven't been. And I, again, talked to my therapist about it this morning. And he's, well, you're also traveling full time. Like you're going through a lot. And you still do your job. You still go above and beyond. This is just one thing to improve on. And yeah, that is right. And it is something to work on. But I am glad to have something to work on as well. But it is still does sting. But finance is great. Like love manifesting more money and love having more money. But it is like, when someone like takes a jab at my work, especially when I feel like I'm working constantly, it is tough.
And where do you think that came from? Where do you think the comic?
I get it in some ways, but there were just examples of, oh, if like just being more proactive, like if I'm gonna hand something to the president or CFO, like making sure that the work is basically like already 50% done. You know what I mean? Doing what I can to like proactively do more work so that they have less to do when it's handed off, which is I've done it in some ways, but in other ways I haven't. And it's just like a way to improve and a way to get better. But I think it just comes with the territory. It
does. I guess it comes with the territory of working for someone else, right? You are going to get comments like that because maybe you're not doing things to their standard or the way that they want things to be done. And you may think that things should be done in a different way. That it's going to happen when you're working for someone else, unfortunately. But it means you can also see it as an opportunity to grow or to move in a certain direction. So it hurts and it's upsetting sometimes when you get those comments. I get it all the time. It is part of why I wanted to leave my job so fucking badly, is because my boss is just, I know that the way I do things works, and I've got a track record over the last 10 years. But he thinks that things should be done a different way and micromanages in certain ways. So it's so frustrating, but actually I do take a lot of what he says on board, because actually he's also quite successful and there's going to be value in a lot of what he says.
Yeah, I totally agree with what they said. I think it's, again, allowing myself to process through the emotion of, ow, that hurt. It's okay to feel hurt about that. But there is truth to it. There is like truth. And it is a way for me to improve and for me to grow. And like, I can appreciate that. But I think, okay, like process through the hurt of, ow, that stings. But now I just feel like a lot more stress over, oh my God, I have to do this thing. Oh my God, I have to do this thing. And feeling very stressed out about getting more work done. So it's like dealing with that. But it's something I think I have 2 weeks here to like really bunker down, like really work, and not just I always have 4 to-do lists going. We always talk about this, but just like really bunker down, like really put in the work and feel really good about what I'm producing, not just in my 9 to 5, but also in my business and also like in my travels and stuff like that. So it's okay. I think I need to allow myself to feel a little bit and grind, basically. But anyway, we need to chat. And I think I'm going to be processing through this for a bit, but thankfully we got 2 weeks. Let's chat about your big life update. Because you've already hinted at it because you talked about the trip, but come on.
Yeah, I mean, you said that before. You were like, because you have a big life update. And I was like, what? A life update? And then I forgot that we haven't recorded since I got the job offer on Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? Just
it was the same day I got my surprise bonus.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Friday.
what happened just after we recorded? Something else happened just after. I think I got the next stage in the interview, got the final stage. And then Friday I had the interview, loved me. He was like this big director of the company and he loved me. And he said, yeah, we'll get HR to be in touch. And then literally a couple of hours later, I got the job offer. So after 6 interviews, hours and hours with different people at the company, I finally got the job that I've manifested the shit out of. If this isn't proof that manifestation works, I don't know what is, because I literally, like, from the first interview, I was getting myself pumped. I was telling myself, I've got the job, I've got the job, I've got the job. Right before every single interview, I was getting myself pumped up, telling myself, I've already got the job. I was really like hardcore manifesting it. And even when I didn't get through certain interviews, the first 2 interviews went really well, but I didn't get the job. So they put me up for another job, which I had to do a different interview for. And I still kept my spirits up. I was like, I've got the job. And then I didn't get that job. And I was like, no, I'm grateful for the opportunity and I invite more. And more came. And I finally got the opportunity that was right for me. And then the fact of the matter is, these opportunities kept coming up. They kept offering them to me because they liked me. And I finally got it. So pretty excited about that.
Huge career jump. Huge career jump.
It's a huge career jump. Yeah, massive. It's still within real estate, but I'm not selling houses anymore. It's more on the marketing side of things, which is what I've done before with my own company in the past. And it's a huge corporate move, This company are worth over $1 billion. They are the second biggest property company, arguably, in the country, possibly even the first, depends on who you ask. I guess I have to say they're the biggest now that I work for them. And just the opportunity is massive. I could progress. And so my new boss, in my interview with him last week or whenever it was, he said to me, Josh, you're so impressive. I could see you at director's level within a couple of years if you just grind in this job. He said, it's going to be tough, but if you grind, he said, I can see you at the top. And he said, it's all about networking. It's just exactly the kind of career move I need in order to grow up. And I know you don't like me saying growing up, and I don't really understand what it means, but I feel like in my current job, one thing I was a little bit upset to leave behind was the fact that I can just do nothing for most of the day. I finish my work usually by sort of 12, 1 o'clock. And for the last almost 2 years, I've got away with throughout the afternoon, pretty much doing nothing because I do my work and that's it. In the future, I won't be able to get away with that because it's a big corporate role. They're really on it. But that's a good thing. It means that I have to hustle. It means I have to network and grind. And it means that I will end up progressing and it's going to force huge growth. So it's a big, big move.
It's incredible. And it's been this whole time, literally the whole time we've been recording, which at this point, and I think longer than that you've been feeling unhappy and wanting to make a move and to make a shift. And it's like a huge, huge jump, huge change. And you fucking did it. And I don't think it's a coincidence. And I want to like make a note of this. I want to record this, but like we are recording. Okay. So let's make a note of this. Things changed when you changed. Like when you started prioritizing your health and when you stopped scrolling and when you deleted social media and when you started exercising again, when you started prioritizing yourself and like you leveled up, literally the thing that was bothering you met you at your level. And that's such a huge lesson to learn. Like you raised your vibration and the thing you were upset about met you where you were at.
That's it. That's exactly. And that's all. It's hard. I was going to say that's all it takes, but it is hard to raise your vibration, raise your frequency. But there was just one day, as we discussed, where I just decided to change. And I am now, I think, on day 23 of that change. And I'm still doing it. And I feel fantastic. That frequency, that vibration really does feel high and raised. And I'm getting the opportunities. I'm finding random chunks of money coming into my account. I just, when you're on this level of flow and on this wavelength, good shit happens. Good shit just happens. You put that energy out there, it comes back.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I think it's definitely, I think it's such a huge lesson in manifestation is like you have to put the energy out there. Yes, you can say what you want, but you have to put the energy out there. You have to act as if you are the person who already has what you want, which is exactly what you did. And then you got exactly what you wanted. You manifested the shit out of it. And it's not just the mindset around the job. It was everything else too.
Literally everything. Yeah. And it's going to lead to more opportunities. Again, I'm very grateful for the opportunity with Zebra. And I've got this amazing job that I'm starting in a couple of months. And I invite more opportunities because they will come with this sort of mindset that I've got, this grind that I've got at the moment. They will come. So it's a really exciting time. And off the back of that, hopefully I am going to book this amazing trip, no matter where it is. It's going to be amazing. How often am I in my career going to get to just take 2 weeks off without having to use up any holiday allowance, without having to worry about anything like that? So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's a really, really exciting time. I'm excited for us to go. If the locations work, I'm joining. The dates, I think the dates work, but if the locations work, I'm fucking coming.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. Now, it's hard for me when I'm in this state to kick something that's not working. Growth is going really well. Again, I've continued the reading trend. I'm reading every night before I go to bed. I was just reading before we started recording just now, which is actually a fiction book. And if I finish this will be my first fiction book that I finished, which I will finish, since I was a kid, like in years. So that'd be pretty good. But what's I'm suffering with at the moment, I think, in a weird way, is an element of grief, actually, in many different aspects of my life. When I handed in my notice at my job last Friday, I got the job offer. Literally an hour later, I handed in my notice because I was so excited. I felt this weird sadness, like it was like a breakup. I've been at this company for almost 2 years. I've become a piece of the furniture of the company, a part of the family. And it's really hard to leave somewhere like that. And I've had this in the past with other jobs where I've left after 2 years or similar amount of time. And it's really hard. It's really hard. And the first week now, since I handed in my notice, I've already felt like a bit of an outsider, and one of my friends or colleagues, whatever you want to call them, I just know that when I leave this job, they're going to be a thing in the past, just like the other colleagues that I used to be like this with. I used to be so close with them. I know that I'm going to lose contact with them very quickly. And it's sad because I've spent every single day, I've spent more time with them than my family, than my girlfriend, than my friends over the last couple of years. So it's hard to let that go. And there are waves of sadness. And interestingly, it is showing up in other areas of my life too, which I think I briefly touched on a couple of days ago or yesterday. Then it's got even worse. So I started watching, have you seen I Am Not Your Guru, the Tony Robbins?
Of course, I've seen I'm Not Your Guru. Also, the amount of our friends in that thing is so funny. My dad's in it. Have you seen my dad?
Really? I probably would notice him if I...
Yeah. So many of our friends are in this like thing. It's really funny. Anyway, so I Am Not Your Guru. Go ahead.
So I've never watched it before. Never watched it. I don't know why. I just never got around to it. I think it came out at a time where I was a little bit disillusioned with Tony and the environment. But I started watching it last night with Savita because I've been trying to tell her the impact that this has had on my life and trying to explain to her, but it's so hard what it's like. And obviously I've done Date with Destiny a couple of times, and I really want to take her to an event. I'd love to do a Date with Destiny with her, but I think first things first, a UPW is probably a good start.
Throw her in the deep end. It's fine.
Yeah, well, listen, we started watching I'm Not Your Guru last night, and we got about halfway before it was bedtime. And it made me really sad. It made me really sad because I'm like, I miss the environment. I haven't been to a Tony event, like an actual Tony event in years, like a physical one. I've done virtual with 2021, but I haven't been to a physical event in years. I'm banned or red flagged from guilds, which is really, I think it's impacted me more than I think. more than I gave it credit to. I shrugged it off, and I came to see you guys in California a couple of years ago anyway, and that was amazing. That was so much fun. But as time goes on, I'm like, I would love to go back. And because I was looking at potentially going to Southeast Asia, I was looking at Cambodia. And the last time I went to Global Youth Leadership Summit, there were 2 Cambodian kids in my dorm. And we were so close, and they were just the loveliest kids. And I promised to them, I made a promise that I would visit them in Cambodia someday. And I messaged them both, and one of them was so excited. He was so happy that I might be coming to Cambodia. And he suddenly just started sending me all these videos and photos of us that I'd never seen before. I don't think I sent them to you, did I?
No, you didn't send it, but
No.
you told me about it. Yeah.
So there's this photo, it's like a group photo, and this video where one of them is just teaching us Cambodian dance, and we were just having such a great time. And I'm like, there were so many incredible magic moments that I'm so grateful for those magic moments, that I was able to experience that with those kids. I'm never going to get to experience that again, and it's so sad to me. Tony Robbins events, of course I can. I can still go to a Tony event. I can still probably crew a Tony event. I think they're separate. But that's not so sad. I think watching it last night, it made me a little bit sad that I haven't been more. And I would love to just get to another one ASAP if I could. And if I can, and I think we probably will go to UPW in September in Germany.
I'm just going to throw out there that I have a room in West Palm Beach for Date with Destiny in December. I'm just throwing it out, and it sleeps 6 people. Just throwing that out there.
How much are tickets? Are they still on sale?
Yeah. I've learned from the Tony world that you can buy a ticket like 2 days before. They'll always make room.
Really? Okay.
But the in-person ones were not. I think I spent $7K.
Okay. That's like double what I paid when I did it. Wow.
I'm also, yeah, it's a lot, but it's because you have to upgrade for in-person.
Right.
And I have a room, so.
I'll definitely look into it. And after watching half of it last night, I said to Savita, I was like, I so want to go to an event. I would love to go with you. And she was like, oh my God, I would love it. Like, I think some people watch I'm Not Your Guru and judge it and think, God, it looks horrible. But I think when you know the environment and how Tony acts, it's really endearing. It's just like reminded me what a special environment it is. And I really do want to go back to an event. So it made me a little bit sad watching that, but I think the main thing that I was grieving was guilt over last week. And my little sister Cheska, she's just been accepted, and she's going. Our friend Nicole, do you remember Nicole, like little Mexican girl, like very small Mexican girl? She messaged me literally yesterday, weird timing, and asked me if I'm going. And I was like, no, I'm not allowed. And part of me wanted to just apply and see, because you never know, they might have changed their mind, that something might have happened. But it's actually the week that I'm at Tomorrowland anyway, so I wouldn't be able to go. So there's no point in applying and then retracting it, because I think that would give me even more of a red flag.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of grief in my own way at the moment. I'm processing through it and I'm coping with it. It's fine. It's not that intense, but it is, especially with the work stuff. It's stuff that I need to work through.
Yeah. So I think we're both, and that's the funny thing about this podcast is like sometimes we're going through very similar things in very different ways. And then sometimes we're going through like very different things. And I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But in processing grief, it's, I think, just like allowing it, like just feeling it, like not just, okay, sad wave comes up. This is grief, feeling the fuck out of it, and then letting it pass in its own time. But also both realities exist at the same time. It's like where we can feel this grief, but also be excited about something else. And that's, both things are okay. Like I can be grieving, but then finish this recording and go to my surf lesson. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cry into my work all afternoon and evening.
Important. I think it's so important. That's just such a good distinction, that feel and grieve and let yourself be sad and cry. But there's so much to be excited for with the future, but as a result of this grief, actually, if it wasn't for what happened to make you grieve, the opportunities and what you're experiencing and going through now the amazing things, the opportunity to be in fucking Brazil for 2 weeks, you wouldn't have that. And it's the same for me with the job. It's really sad to let it go. And it's why when I served my notice back in like October, November, if you remember, I took it back like a week later because I was so sad to be leaving. And I couldn't let it go. But this time it's different. And I actually have a really compelling option, a compelling job to move to. So I have so much to be excited for. And I wouldn't have that to be excited for if it wasn't for me leaving and breathing this other job. So that's a really important distinction that you've just made.
Yeah, both realities exist at the same time. And that's okay, and that's life.
And only one way to grow, and that is by going through the pain or the discomfort. That's another thing. That's another thing I've been grieving. I knew there was something else. Weirdly, these things are coming up out of nowhere. The yes theory community, I have a tattoo on my arm, which is seek discomfort, thunderbolt. And when I got it, the yes fam, yes theory, and changed my life beyond belief, my social life, my confidence, just everything beyond belief. That summer I got it. It was just a huge summer for me. And so I got this matching tattoo with a couple of my friends. And it meant so much to me. And in my head at that point, I was like, this is a tattoo I can get because I'm never going to lose this. I'm never going to lose this community. There's no reason for me to regret the tattoo in the future. Little did I know that I'm severely mentally ill and I would lose that community within a couple of years. And so I've been feeling quite sad, like seeing that tattoo recently. I don't know why it hasn't come up before. The last 6 months or whenever it was that I got banned, suddenly it's hitting me. I'm like, this on my arm is a constant reminder of the fuck up that I made. And it's really sad. It's really sad. And what I'm trying to tell myself, because I don't want to get it removed. I think yes theory as a whole has genuinely had an impact on my life. And this doesn't necessarily represent the yes fan, which is what's caused me the pain over the last year or so. This is its theory as a whole and what it represents and what the theory represents. And so when I explain this tattoo to people and they ask me like, was it Harry Potter? I tell them that it's the spark that ignites inside me or you when you step out of your comfort zone. And that actually is true. And I love that meaning behind it. And I think I just got to tell myself more and more that that's what this means. And that's why I got it in the first place. It's not about the yes fan. It wasn't about getting matching tattoos because that's so gimmicky. It was about what it actually means to me and what the principle means to me, and it's cool. But that comes and goes, and I have to remind myself what it actually means to me because the pain is definitely there underlying.
Yeah, I think it's like the unglamorous part of seeking discomfort, right? There's a glamorous side of it of skydiving and like trying new things and traveling new places, but the unglamorous side of seeking discomfort, which growth still happens in this unglamorous side, is the discomfort of fucking pain, of grief, of sadness, of letting things go, of fucking up and messing up and having to start over and learn something new. It's not just the discomfort of trying new things that are fun. It's also the discomfort of putting yourself through really difficult challenges in order to shed skin and to become someone new on the other side. And it's like the tattoo isn't about the community. The tattoo is about what that means. And you still do live by that. And I'm like a fucking walking billboard for it right now. But I think it's the unglamorous side that people don't talk about very much.
No, exactly. I think partly why it's upset me maybe so much is because it's a reminder of, or maybe it's upset me recently because of the whole Tony Robbins Guilds thing, that it's a reminder of how I fucked up two amazing communities. The Yes Fam, I was so ingrained in it. Everyone knew who I was. It's such a huge part of my life over the last 3 years. And I fucked it up because for various different reasons. It's the same with Global Youth Leadership Summit. I don't know exactly what incident it was that got me banned or red flagged, but there were one of a few things that it could have been. And I fucked up. That's on me. I did that, and I ruined my community as a result. Not really. Obviously, we're still incredibly close, and I'm still incredibly close with so many of the community, and it still holds a huge place in my heart. Yeah, just have a negative connotation with girls. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, allow yourself to feel the grief, allow yourself to be sad, allow yourself to go through the emotions of grief, because otherwise you just suppress it and it's not going to be like fully healed and resolved. Like you have to feel it to heal it.
Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting. You say sometimes we're going through completely different things, and then sometimes we're going through very similar things. And not of, by no means comparing my situation to yours at all. It's a much less intense form of grief, but it does always feel like we come full circle. That makes sense. We just go through these phases, and eventually it comes back to, yeah, we're in sync again.
Yeah, even though it's the human experience, right? Like we can be going through different situations, but experiencing the same feelings and the same like challenges, lessons, whatever. And that's just like the human experience, but it's also like we're just in tune, and also that's part of podcasting, right? So
Exactly, and which is nice. I've also just had another thought, another kind of positive that I can take away with my tattoo, which is that this represents so many different positive things that I can flip it to. But in reality, what this means, what this represents, is the most important 3 years of my life to date. I joined that community, or the London version of the community, a month or so into my sobriety, into my recovery. And that's what kickstarted this recovery period of over 3 years now. The most important 3 years of my life, because God knows where I would go or where I would have gone over the last 3 years if it wasn't for my recovery, which was massively aided by the Yes and by everything that community gave me, and has still given me. I've still got some amazing friends from the community. So that's another way I've just thought in my head to flip it.
yeah, it's reframes as well. So that's incredible. But just go through it. Go through it. It's okay. Go through it, but also reframing at the same time. Do both. Both realities exist at the same time.
Exactly. There's so many different ways to approach it.
Yeah. And that's just life, man. Anyway, so we'll see you guys next week. Yeah.
Yeah, next week. Can't wait.
Can't wait. Hopefully we don't have tech issues then.
Oh, well, hopefully this works.
Let's see. All right. Because this is a good episode. All right. Bye, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.